So my name is Pei-Lu Tran. I am the CEO, co-founder of Ferrum Health. Our company's mission is to enable AI adoption by giving systems the governance platforms that they need to be able to adopt, monitor, deploy, and trust the AI models they're trying to work with.
Cool. Thanks, Pei-Lu. So I'd love to learn a little more about, like, firstly, how you go about that, because we're certainly not short of AI solutions out here at HIMSS, but before we dive into that, like, what does that look like in terms of the stuff you do with those healthcare systems that need that help with AI?
So the theme of the year in AI, I think, is AI councils and AI governance committees. Every single system that I've talked to has stood up these organizations that span the CIO, CTO, chief clinical officer, CISOs. Like, you have the entire C-suite of hospitals now sitting down once a month for like 2-3 hours trying to figure out what they're going to do with AI.
Yeah.
And I think that that's made it very, very clear that kind of the marketplace concept or the point solution idea is dead, because they've got 20, 30, 40 applications that they're trying to deploy. They don't just need marketplaces. They need the entire governance stack that meets the requirements of each one of those C-suite stakeholders that currently isn't being solved.
Interesting. Like, one perspective of that, perhaps an uninformed perspective, could be that if you need a whole board or everyone together to work out, well, what are we going to do with this tool? It kind of gives me vibes of, like, we've got these really cool hammers, let's work out what nails we have, as opposed to where I feel like technology should be heading in healthcare, which is we have these problems. How do we solve that? Like, what's your take on, like, the best ways to kind of work out what we do with all these really sick hammers we have?
I mean, honestly, like, this may be unpopular with a lot of C-suite, but I think usually what happens is if a solution comes top down from a CEO or CTO, it's usually a hammer with a bunch of marketing behind it, looking for a nail. But if a solution's kind of bubbling up through the service lines and the clinicians and like the actual care teams, it's usually a nail that they're desperately trying to solve and find solutions for. But the challenge with that is you've got, on average, 20, 30 applications that are being requested by all your different service lines. Revenue cycle, cardiology, like care coordination, like ambient listening. And every single one of them is getting routed to the same CIO, the same CISO, they're all trying to access a single resource at the C-suite level that does not have the bandwidth to address it. So I think we think of it more from a bottoms-up perspective, where I don't think it is valid to say there aren't clinical tools out there that doctors want.
Yeah.
Right? But I think most of the solutions that are getting shoved down into the clinician's hands tend to be hammers looking for nails. So it's a bit more about where is the demand coming from than it is about are there solutions that are viable.
Yeah, interesting. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess that you get a lot more clinician engagement and buy-in if there's those tools coming from the bottom up that people are like, hey, this would really solve a problem. Let's work out how we build this into our stack to do it in a controlled and secure way. How does that actually happen in reality, though? Like, to do that I imagine you can't just knock on the door of the CIO or CTO, depending again on the culture, I guess. But there needs to be a structured approach to be able to understand what tools are available and what clinicians want and need. Yeah. Like, what's your kind of take on that?
I actually think that systems have a pretty good grasp of that, because clinicians are pretty good at, saying, hey, listen, like, I'm a cardiologist, like, I need a better tool to read my cardiac ultrasounds, or hey, listen, like, I'm an orthopedic surgeon, like, I need tools to measure. Like, I think systems are used to digesting clinical applications and solutions. The challenge with AI is that all of these solutions, again, like, they are running to the same implementation, integration, kind of hosting, security, data protection, like these same issues. So you've got 20, 25, 30 solutions that different doctors in your org want. And right now, these councils are kind of serving this blocker function, right? They're like, our job is to basically have a way to tell clinicians no and only let through the 1 or 2 that we can handle per year. It doesn't solve the fundamental issue that doctors aren't getting the tools they need. So I think it's like I believe AI councils have to be a way that you fast track innovation. Right now, the way they're getting stood up is they are intentionally a way to try to freeze and stall innovation in most orgs.
Interesting. And so why do you think that is? Like, why would health systems want to slow down the pace of innovation, or perhaps, halt the implementation of some of these new innovative tools?
Because I think as much as patient care is important in healthcare, there are some things that are even more important for the organizations. Things like, are you having to triple your IT team to support these tools? Are you kind of headed for a complexity catastrophe, having to integrate tons of patient data to every model in their own cloud environment, having to receive all the results back and incorporate them into all of your user endpoints? Is there any way to protect the security of these algorithms and the data you're sending to them? And even more importantly, like, is there any way to even know that the solution you're deploying is actually working on every patient population? Or is it biased? Is it discriminating? Is it drifting? And so healthcare is conservative. It is conservative around patient data security, which AI presents a massive threat to how data hungry it is. It is a conservative organization around tools that may cause inequitable care, which all AI is by definition biased. And it is an organization that does not have budgets in IT to remotely come close to serving the data science, integrations, hosting, compute capabilities, right? You would need entire DevOps, data science, integration teams. They can barely keep their current systems updated and modern. Right? An Epic upgrade takes like 18 months, right? Like a new PAX risk deployment takes 9 to 12. Like, they're just staying afloat. And guess what? Like, they're always going to prioritize keeping things stable, and keeping things secure, keeping things safe. Then they will be kind of unclear value of what AI could be doing to improve care. And that's got to change.
Interesting. So and I guess it kind of leads to my next point too, because I look around the show floor here at HIMSS and looking at the sessions too. I feel like there's a good mix of, there's the cities that are built by some of the big, EMR providers that we're well, established and well familiar with. There's a lot of really interesting, cool, innovative, entrepreneurial ideas that have got traction within healthcare systems. Some have got some neat integrations. Others kind of act as standalone things, and that's an interesting challenge in itself. And I know you've got an entrepreneurial background in your own right. So I'd love to get your take on, like, how healthcare is evolving, since you're kind of seeing things at that top view of, is this going to be the innovation is kind of dictated through some of those really big, well-established EMRs that have their own tools built into them, or are we going to see more of this kind of upswell of the new entrepreneurial startups that are kind of changing how things are done?
We've been tracking the AI space for 5-6 years now, and it moves way too fast for any incumbent to be able to solve all the problems. I mean, the last one that tried it was IBM Watson. You've got other folks that are trying to solve it, but like even an Epic, like, they're building models, but they've got, a dozen that they've been able to do with their dominant market position.
Yeah.
You've got the models themselves only really having a lifespan of like 12 to 18 months before a better framework, a better solution comes out there. So like Microsoft Nuance is launching, Copilot DAX. Like, Nuance's technology was hyper modern, 2-3 years ago, and now it's, in the Stone Age. And so they've been updating their solutions. But you look at what GE and Siemens and all these other players are releasing, and they launched and got FDA cleared AI models, 5-7 years ago sometimes. We are multiple generations ahead of those tools, and there's no way incumbents can invest enough to stay ahead of every use case with every advancement on like every possible customer.
Yeah.
It's only solvable with kind of an open ecosystem approach where they're partnering with vendors, they're partnering with like innovators.
I'm a big believer of that too. Yeah. I mean, there's that challenge in itself, though, of that if you're, a lot of the times, depending on what part of healthcare an AI tool is being deployed into, particularly in the clinical side, you need that FDA clearance or TGA in Australia. And that takes a long time, and usually a lot longer than what the pace of innovation is going. How do you see that playing out? Because, is that a sustainable model in and of itself? Because it's, I don't know how to answer it myself, because we need that control, and we need the regulation. We need the vendors to move quickly and the technology to continue to to scale at a rapid pace. What's going to be the state of play here?
Two thoughts along those lines. The first one is FDA has long since stopped being the actual mechanism for ensuring that AI is safe. And the metric I use here is 80+% of AI tools that are FDA cleared significantly underperform in the real world compared to the FDA clearance. And it's because AI is not like a med device or a drug. You cannot just test it on a population, see that it reduces hypertension by, 10 points, and then know it's going to work in 20 years.
Yeah.
Again, the half-life of AI is at 12 to 18 months. Scanners improve, data changes, meaning the actual data feed into the AI models is changing constantly. And so we're already way behind the eight ball. It's going to require an act of Congress to give the FDA any ability to actually keep up with and not have this kind of golden image. I'm going to prove it once and just assume it's going to work forever. And until they get that, which in the current deregulatory environment, I don't think they will, I think we're kind of stuck with that burden for safety and performance being squarely on the shoulders of the health systems.
Yeah.
And that's why these councils are getting stood up, because they don't have anyone else they can look to. And they aren't going to anytime soon.
It's a fascinating problem. But lastly, then, for yourselves with Verum and coming to HIMSS, a lot of interesting conversations, no doubt, that you're having with health systems and the technology crowd as well. Any key things you're bringing to the party, or announcements or insights that you're hoping people will take away after the discussions with you?
I mean, I think that we're looking at these AI councils and we're seeing all of them serving as these blockers and these kind of holding pens. And I think if there were one message to get out there, it's really encouraging systems like, hey, these need to be technology enablers, not technology blockers for the organization. And I think looking around, when you look at what the hyperscalers kind of cloud compute can do from a security standpoint, from a flexibility standpoint, and you look at how many systems are moving to the cloud as well, there's a bit of a 1 + 1 = 3 there, right? We're working with hyperscalers to try to introduce AI governance, monitoring, compute, streamline and provide a one-click deployment model for AI that meets all the security, IT, clinical governance needs from these councils. And I think we'll only be successful if healthcare executives start thinking about AI councils as more of an enabler for patient care rather than a holding pen that we're using to kick the can down the road. I think we're already seeing some folks start to think about it that way, though it's still nascent.
Still some work to do.
Yeah, as expected.